Now, son, y'all lying on my boy Naoya Inoue trying to start beef with Tank Davis. Come on, son.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Eagle unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Oh yeah, the lies continue. Naoya Inoue of Japan, he comes and clears the air and he says people are lying on his name and he ain't say what people said he said. You dig? So in this video, I'm gonna break down what went on exactly like I do because I am the best in the business and it's not even close. Now, Tank Davis is getting ready to fight Lamont Roach. He had two press conferences, one in New York and one closer to home in DC. And they were both good, you know, some back and forth. I'm looking forward to the fight. And Lamont Roach seems insanely confident. He knows Tank well from the amateurs and they fought twice in the Amis. So I'm looking forward to the fight. In the second stop, the press conference in DC, Tank, he stayed back to do a media scrum and interview with reporters after the press conference concluded, right? And one of the questions from a reporter was something to the effect of Naoya Inoue said ... about you, right? Actually, I'll read the quote because my boy Dan the Boxing Man, he posted a video and he wrote out the quote. So shout out to him, follow him on Twitter. It says, Naoya Inoue, this is what the reporter says. Naoya Inoue said there's nothing that you have to give him real problems. All you have is power. Gervonta Davis seemed almost like confused by it, right? Which we'll get to in a second. Tank responded, quote, he said that? I don't want to go crazy if it's not true. You trying to catch me slipping. Show me that he said that. They trying to get us to have beef. And so on and so forth. So, you know, I like that from Tank because Tank is not going to just take reporters' word for it. Like, if the boxing game is getting real watered down, I'm here to let you know right now. I've been in the game for several years because you have a lot of people. It's like one big high school and you know, people are getting credentialed and some of the questions are insane. Like Canelo was doing something unrelated to boxing recently and people were like, oh, are you going to fight Jake Paul? And it's just like, he don't even look like he was worried about boxing and people are asking about Jake Paul. And I don't know, you know, maybe there's some money there. I don't know. But I just don't think that's probably the first priority of what he wants to do, you know, in his career. I don't know. I could be wrong. Jake Paul is like a cruiserweight and Canelo fights at 168, 175 at best. Even though Canelo is entertained, it's just like people are starving and thirsty in the boxing media to get a soundbite. So it's just like some of the questions are getting like more and more obvious that people are like prying and instigating and stuff like that. And Tank, the way he responded, I liked it because again, you have to, as a pro athlete, you have to understand that some of the questions that are being asked of you are kind of setup questions to have you answer it wrong, or like I've literally seen this in this game, right? and this is I'm not gonna say no names or whatever, but I've seen it, trust me, where we'll interview a fighter in a media scrum, so it's a bunch of us, right? And they'll say, oh, X, Y, and Z fighter said this about you on Twitter. What's your response, right? The person will say whatever. Then, let's say it's a big fight week, they see the fighter that they just said left the tweet and told another fighter, and when they see the other fighter, they'll run and say, oh, this fighter said this about you. So they don't really say like, hey, I'm the middleman and I'm instigating the beef and I'm telling him and trying to agitate him and revealing what you said on Twitter, and I brought that to him. They didn't even know about that. So he talked ish back to you, and then you run back to the person who allegedly did the tweet and then say, hey, this guy said this about you. And you're like, it's like you're instigating. And you're getting a rise out of both people and riling both people up, playing both sides. That's what you see a lot of time. I've seen that firsthand. So the thing about this is Tank and Inoue have been very respectful of each other. Tank has said, like, he even did a top 5 pound for pound list and he put Inoue somewhere in there. You know, he said, these are the best guys, Terrence Crawford, myself, Inoue, blah, blah, blah. And Inoue has been very respectful of Tank Davis as well. So Tank was kind of taken aback because it seemed like, how could he disrespect me? And I've been very complimentary of him. And, you know, you can't control what someone else says or does, but you could tell that Tank has always shown respect to Inoue. They're in 2 different weight classes. So it's really not even a conversation that needs to happen, because I doubt that they fight, because to me, they're far apart in weight, right? And until I see Inoue start fighting and passing steps before, like beat Figueroa before you get to a Tank, you know, or the winner. I think Figueroa might beat Fulton. So let's say Figueroa beats Fulton. That's a good fight, right? You got to beat some of those guys in those weight classes before you start thinking about 135. You know, it's a progression. So I don't know if we'll ever see that particular fight. But Tank, he caught on and he said, you trying to set me up. They want us to beef and stuff. Like, basically, you want me to say something derogatory towards him, and you're telling me he said this about me, blah, blah, blah. So Tank didn't really respond to it. Now we have Inoue who comes out and says it's cap, right? Because Dan the Boxing Man, as I said earlier, posted the video and he quoted what was contained in the video, and Inoue responded to it in Japanese, and I translated. It says, I never said anything like that, ... So Inoue was on Twitter and seen it and said, basically, people are lying on him and capping. You also have a person on Twitter responded and said, whoever asked that question should be identified. No way you can look at Tank fight and say all he got is power, and no way would Inoue had said that, and boxing Twitter never reposted it or talked about that comment. So again, I don't know where you guys are getting your information from, but Inoue says, I never said anything like that. And here's the thing, you know, people see something online and then they immediately take it as gospel. Like, you'll see a caption video or a video that was allegedly translated. Who knows? Me personally, I gotta take Inoue at his word because I don't speak Japanese. I love Japanese food, but I don't speak the native language. So how am I gonna, when he's saying something in Japanese, you know what I mean? And he's speaking in Japanese and I don't know what he's saying because I don't speak it, right? And then who am I to say, oh no, you're lying, you really said that about Tank? So just look at the audacity that people have when it comes to this boxing game. You have people who, you know, fans in the comments are like, no, he said that. They don't even speak Japanese. So how do you know he said that? Because somebody said they translated it, or let's say there's a caption video, or somebody put Google Translate. I mean, some of that stuff is not across the board accurate. Anybody knows that. Like sometimes if you go to, let's say, Artur Beterbiev, he says something in Russian, or Dmitry Bivol, right? And then you go to Google Translate, and then you copy and paste what they put into Google Translate. Some of it doesn't make sense. Or if you take Canelo and he says something in Spanish, and then he's like, baby, and he uses a little bit of slang or something. Any of that thing, if you know accents and dialects and different language and translations, you'll understand that some things, like in Spanish, like if you have a person from Mexico, they have a certain word, and there might not be an exact direct word in the English language that fits 100%, you know, and that's with all languages. There's not like necessarily a direct word that's a synonym. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen it. It's the internet. You see it all the time. Like I've even seen, it'll be a picture of like Jamie Foxx or Tom Hardy, and it'll be like, itches ain't ish, but hoes and tricks. Tom Hardy. And I'm like, Tom Hardy didn't say that. Johnny Depp didn't say that. But it's a pic tweet, or it's like a pic quote of some random saying, and then it'll have a picture of Johnny Depp or something claiming that Johnny Depp said it, you know? Or if you know, because I know some Spanish, right? So sometimes when I'm watching boxing events, some of these translators that they have are horrible. And then they'll say what the person allegedly said, but it's not 100%. Like their translation is rough or it's off. So again, I never heard Inoue say this stuff about Tank Davis. So he's saying he didn't. I got to take the man at his word, because I don't speak his language to have heard it myself. And just because somebody else says, oh, I speak Japanese and I translated, who knows who is that person? You know what I'm saying? So I never heard of it, but Tank, I'm glad he didn't like try to violate an ether in a way, because now you get to a situation where it gets kind of messy, where you're going in on a particular fighter for something that a reporter is telling you he said that he actually may not have said. To this point, I haven't seen anybody produce the actual clip, you know what I'm saying, of him speaking and saying these derogatory things, and then getting like somebody who's a known like Japanese professor and he tutors English, and he's like, yo, I speak it, I know what he said, and he said Tank ain't ish, Tank ain't got nothing for him, and he ain't got no power, or whatever was claimed to begin with. So I can't argue that a person said something when I don't even speak the language where he allegedly said it. That don't even make sense to me. You know what I mean? And I'm glad Tank handled it like a true professional. He didn't believe it. And now Inoue's coming out and saying, I never even said nothing like that. So, and that's the thing, is like, why would Inoue lie? Like, what reason would he have to lie? If he was talking greasy, he was talking greasy. You know what I mean? Why would he take it back? And the other thing that, if you just think about it, the other thing that would sound crazy is, we all know Tank does have power, but it's stupid for anybody to believe that all he does is throw power like Ruslan Provodnikov. Clearly, he's more than like a brute force caveman style fighter. You know, you could tell by his style. So someone who is a tactical and technical fighter like Inoue, I would hope they have enough appreciation and respect for the game. Like, you look at Inoue's style, he's technical. So, you know, if you know, you know. And typically in those situations where you got skills and somebody else got skills, real recognizes real. So it would be stupid anyway. And it would also be dumb for a person who's that much smaller than Tank and in such a lower weight class to be talking crazy like, hey, he ain't got nothing to bother me. All he got is power. You know, just from a respect level of anybody who knows boxing, knows Tank is more than just a power puncher. If you look at it, some of these early rounds, he's kind of dormant, calculating data. If he was just this mindless power puncher, he would just start throwing for the fences, trying to knock you out in round one. As Tank has matured, you see he's very composed. He's picking his shots. He's setting traps. He did it for Ryan Garcia, did it for Rolly. So anybody with the boxing brain knows that Tank is more than just a mindless power puncher. So I don't know where this rumor came. I don't know where this alleged quote came, but Inoue has taken to social media and says it's cap. And I try to tell you, there's a lot of low quality content available online. You know, people instigating and trying to spread this and spread rumors, people saying fights are done and then the fight isn't done, clickbait, trying to get the fan involved to try to like scrounge for some viewership. It's getting crazy. So just be on the lookout and be cautious where you get your information from, because the ride gets trippy. You got people who don't speak Japanese telling a Japanese man who spoke in Japanese, whatever I'd never even heard him speak English ever. So I don't even think he speaks English like that. You know what I mean? So likely whatever he allegedly said about Tank was in a language that you would have to know. So I don't get it. How can, you know, TikTokers, YouTubers, and Instagrammers say, oh no, he said this, and then you don't even speak the language to even confirm or deny that? So for me, I never even seen the clip where he said this, or I don't even know where this came from. So that's where we're at. Inoue is now on record on social media responding to it, and he says, I never said anything like that. Not only did he say I didn't say that, he said I never said anything like that. So I don't know where the disconnect or where the wires got crossed, but this is another reason where boxing doesn't get taken seriously, because you see this constantly happening, where it's like misinformation and disinformation. Subscribe to my channel because I'm the best in the business and it's not even close.